All right, this is Jonathan by myself, solo, trying something a little bit different. We haven't been able to do the regular episodes lately, so I wanted to at least get something out there for you all to listen to. So what I wanted to do is just talk about a couple of books that I've been reading that definitely would recommend and why. First one is Daniel Warren Johnson, Mike Spicer, Transformers, and we're talking about issues 1 and 2. Now, before the book was announced, I didn't know who Daniel Warren Johnson was. As I've said many times before, I have about a 10-year or so gap when it comes to my comic book knowledge, so I think he came onto the scene either right to the end of my previous stint with comics or after he might become popular at that point, at least as far as mainstream. I'm mostly a mainstream reader. I do read some indies, but I am mostly a mainstream reader of comics. So in any case, the book is really well done. What I like about it is that it feels more like an indie book in some ways, because Daniel Warren Johnson's doing the writing and the art, which is very common for an indie book. And so you have Mike Spicer doing the colors, and then you have Russ Wooten on letters. The story is kind of a retelling of Transformers. Yes, again, we're getting a new reboot of a franchise, as is so common. But I really feel like he's putting a unique spin. He's making it his own. Again, you're kind of feeling like this is something that he owns because he's doing the writing and drawing. Not that he owns, obviously, the IP, but the story, it feels like it's really authentic in that sense. This is not some sort of corporate mandated thing. It's his creation. Obviously, it's benefiting the IP owners. So we start off with Spike dealing with his dad. I don't recall if Spike's dad was really mentioned too much in the previous storylines. I haven't read a lot of the previous Transformers comics. At some point, I might go back and see if just kind of almost like a comparison. But right away, I mean, Daniel Warren Johnson's storytelling comes through. He has a nice way of using panels. I like his little tiny panels that he does that have no word bubbles, and it's like almost like a glimpse, like a thought. So he does it in a visual way, which I really appreciate. So you can see, what people were in the minds of people and things of that nature. So he meets up with his friend, and there's some more character development there. And then they stumble upon the Transformers. And these Transformers are all messed up. And then there was a bit of a tie-in with Void Rivals. So that was cool. And we see how he handles the Transformers coming back to life, so to speak. And how that goes through. Jetfire and Starscream are some of the first Transformers to reawaken. And you see Daniel Warren Johnson, he was saying how he wanted his drawings of the Transformers to be very fluid, almost like a manga. And it really shows that influence in the artwork, especially in some of the action scenes. And so we go through and we're looking at the first conflict between Starscream and the Autobots. And he's trying to get his friends reactivated, and it seems like it's kind of almost like random. And I'm not going to go through all the details of the story. I don't want to spoil it too much, although it's been out for a couple months. But again, just I really love the dynamic panels that Daniel Warren Johnson uses, the sense of movement, fluidity, the even the lettering kind of breaks the panels sometimes, which adds another aspect to it. It's funny looking through it the second time. It's the second time looking through the book. Really appreciating just the artwork and the panel layouts and just everything. It just flows. Man, it's just really good. He's even so bold as to make you turn your book 90 degrees at one point. So, not everyone likes that, but, as long as it doesn't happen too often, it's fine. But yeah, so there's just some great action scenes in this first issue. And then at the end, we see Starscream really show that he's definitely not a good guy at the very end there. So yeah, so that's Transformers issue 1. Again, a solid start to the story, and considering, like I said, I didn't know who Daniel Warren Johnson was before this book, Definitely already a fan of him. So definitely looking forward to issue 2. So issue 2 did come out, and I will say the opening scene of issue 2 I thought was really good. And the reason why, and it's for the same, at first I thought the end of issue 1, Starscream does something, and I'm like, well, I'll just say it. Basically, he kills a human. And it's not graphic per se, but it's still, what happened. And it's like, ugh, and you're like, well, why did he do that? I mean, kind of unnecessary in some ways. But then I see in the beginning issue 2, you see Optimus Prime, and he comes out and he sees the beauty of the Earth, and then he accidentally kills a deer. And you're like, whoa, what? But you see his reaction to what he did accidentally. He feels very guilty about it. And that tells you everything you need to know about this character. Just like with Starscream, it tells you everything you need to know about him in what he does. But then the opposite is true with Optimus Prime. When he comes on the scene, again, he accidentally kills a deer. He's so broken about it. And I thought that was a really beautiful moment, character moment. So definitely appreciated that. Really, really cool. The way that he handled that part of the story. And then you have him and Spike kind of talking to each other, getting to know each other. Optimus Prime gives pretty well-established background. They were on Cybertron, there was a war, Autobots had to escape, that's pretty typical. And then you have some other characters show up, like Cliff Jumper, and his reaction to seeing a human for the first time was very comical. I don't remember if the Optimus Prime's trailer, if its purpose was like kind of rebuilding Autobots, but that's what it's doing. I thought that was kind of cool. If it hasn't been used that way before, I thought that was cool. We go through, they're talking about how the big issue right now is Energon, which seems to be a very common theme with Transformers, right? It's always about Energon, which makes sense. I mean, that's their life force, essentially. In the past, storylines have dealt with Energon in such a way that it was some sort of specific resource that had to be found. But it almost looks like in this story, Daniel Warren Johnson's kind of changing it up a little bit. It looks like they can convert other energy into Energon, because you see Starscream and his cronies come down to a power line company or a substation or something like that, and they have this device that looks like it's siphoning electricity and it's converting it to Energon. That's what it looks like to me. Again, kind of different, interesting, totally fine with the change up. That's fine. You give us some more action scenes with Starscream versus some military planes, and you get a little glimpse of a G.I. Joe character, Duke, in this issue. So a little connective tissue, because of course this is the Energon universe. So we're starting off with Transformers. Well, technically it's Void Rivals, which is, I think, kind of a new property, unique to this comic series, and then that's like kind of the main connective tissue for everything. And then you got Transformers, and they're going to have the G.I. Joe, and who knows what other Hasbro toys are going to show up in these comics. We'll see how that things go. But it is interesting, nice to have that connective, not overt, but there is a connection there, so that's nice. And then we go through here again, just really love the way that the panels are laid out, the artwork. And yeah, so this is issue 2, ends up with a little bit of revelation. Again, I won't spoil everything, but yeah, issue 2, solid continuation of the story. Yeah, really loving the art, really loving the way that Daniel Warren Johnson is handling the story. I really do feel like he's making it his own book, so I appreciate that. Looking forward to seeing how things flesh out with this new Energon universe and how the Transformers fit in it. So yeah, that's issues 1 and 2 of Transformers. Definitely recommend that you check them out if you're a Transformers fan, for sure. But even if you're not, it's still a solid story. Think of it like a science fiction story, kind of got an indie slant to it, and just a really great fluid art. Well done. Looking forward to more. All right, so that's it for this little experiment here for this episode, little mini episode, solo. Hopefully we'll be doing some more so that we can have some at least consistency until we can get some of the regular episodes out. Well, that being said, I'm Jonathan Towery, and this has been Comic Talk Cafe.